So hello guys, welcome to this new show. This is Ready Penny Cook. Brand new type of show for me. I've had to use different equipment to do the job because obviously I can't get all of my studio stuff into the kitchen. So this is my kitchen, which I've tried to make as nice for you as I can. Now, this is a first show of this type. So your feedback is going to be absolutely critical for me. Please give feedback on anything such as the sound, the picture quality, anything that you find important. I will always do my best to improve. And also because this is a first show, and when I do anything for the first time, so I thought I heard something at my door. When I do anything for the first time, I like to show you what I'm doing. So there's going to be an awful lot of stopping and starting today, and I do apologize, but once I've shown you how to do something, then obviously next time I do it in a future show, I can say, oh yeah, we're just going to do so-and-so, which we've covered before. So word of warning, this is a working household. I do have a lodger. He could come home at any time. When he comes in the door, I will just explain. But actually, I'll move the camera like that. So obviously when he comes in the door, I'll just say, look, I'm just doing some filming, and then he can either disappear or whatever. So if you hear any noises, I do apologize. So before we start, big thank you to Danielle Boudreau for being the first comment. Good evening, all you beautiful peeps. Dano's Bills, hello Penny, how are you? Dano, I am as nervous as you can possibly get. I've done first shows before, but every single type of first show is just as hard as the first one. So yeah, I am nervous as anything. Love Minis, hi, and Yorkshire Crafter, hello everyone. Right, so I'm just going to pop the kitchen light. I don't know if my lead is. I'm using my headphones. So I'm using my headphones. The reason being, I wasn't sure about the sound. And I thought, well, I've got enough length on the headphones to reach everywhere I need to go, and it should keep the sound consistent. So what we're going to do today, let me explain a little bit about me as a cook, where I come from, where I'm going. I trained as a chef in 1989, class of 89, class of 90. I went to Norwich City College. I trained to be a chef. I did a couple of years in the trade, and I found commercial cooking wasn't for me. I love cooking, but on a commercial scale, it's just really not for me. Great admiration to those who do chef work. Hats off to you. It's just not for me. I learned some really good skills, and I really appreciate all the education I got on it. So I know a little bit about cooking, but I'm not a practicing chef for the last 30 years. I'm a bit of I describe myself as a sort of a cross between Gordon Ramsay, in that I can't understand why people bother if they don't want to bother. What's the point in trying if you don't want to make the effort? I want good ingredients, try and get the best you can. I'm also about a little bit of Jamie Oliver, in that it's all about keeping it nice and simple. And the other things, I hear a few things like people waste a lot of food, and I can't understand how. People claim they don't have time to cook, which I think is a bit of a, it's easy to get. It's all about time management. And I don't believe that it's cheaper to eat bad food than it is to eat good food. So my aim is to cook nice, fairly quick meals that are nice and cheap, that are nice and wholesome. Since I've had my own place, this is the way that I've been eating probably for the last month. And I think it's all great food, not just for the body, but for the mind. And, you feel good, and it's just good fun. And yeah, so Danielle says, don't be nervous. We're all coming over to eat after it's done. You're more than welcome to. So like I say, today I'm doing a cottage pie. The reason I'm doing the cottage pie is two reasons. One, Danielle Boudreau did request it. So thank you very much. Again, feedback's always appreciated. And also it's a nice, quick, simple, not too difficult to make, a nice basic, probably a British food. I don't know the ins and outs and the science, but so I have two cameras today. One, this is probably going to be the wrong one. Yep, that's my cooker. So this is my food prep area. So The ingredients that we're going to need today, I did list them in the description. We're going to need olive oil, onion, carrot. Now, it does say to put celery in. I personally am not a fan of celery, so I'm missing the celery out. But you can put celery in. Garlic clove, it says to do 1. I actually like garlic, so I tend to put 1 more clove in than the recipe says, so I'll be putting 2 in. 500 grams of mince, and I've actually got way too much mince there, but that's not a problem. You need a bit of tomato puree. Now, tomato puree goes really well with beef. The two work really well together. So when the recipe says to put tomato into beef, I really do trust that. We also need a tin of chopped tomatoes. I've got these ones. If you can't get chopped tomatoes or you want to save a couple of pennies, get yourself whole tomatoes. All you got to do is just open the tin, just tip the excess juice out, get a knife and just chop them in the tin. It'll save you a couple of pennies, but I'm being lazy and I'm buying chopped tomatoes. Just going back to the olive oil. I don't know much about this, but I've heard stories about extra virgin olive oil being fake. So I get a decent brand name. To be honest with you, this oil is just for frying in, so you could probably get away with any oil you want, but I'm using extra olive because it's one oil does everything then. Where are we up to? Right, beef stock cube. I actually forgot to get beef stock cubes today, so I'm going to be using a vegetable stock cube. Obviously, it won't be quite so beefy, but it'll be a bit more vegetable-y. We're also going to be needing some bay leaves, so I get mine from a jar. I apologize for the product placement, but sometimes I get supermarket brand. But these are dried bay leaves. I suppose you could use fresh, but it's just easier just to get dried. Remember, we're cooking in a home environment, so whether to get dry or fresh, it is your preference. It really doesn't matter. If you can get, I mean, these are more convenient, but if you prefer fresh, then buy fresh. We also need peas, which are currently in the freezer. We need Maris Piper. Well, we need potatoes that you can mash, but I'm using Maris Piper, and we are going to be using 50 grams of butter. So first thing we need to do is, is we want a nice big pan for potatoes. I do apologize about the pan noises. Now, one thing you will notice about me when I cook is my frying pan of choice is a wok. I don't just do Chinese food in a wok. I do just about all food in a wok. And the reason for that is it's just nice and easy to use. So I'll do I should have pre-prepared my potatoes, so I'm afraid I didn't. So you're going to see me veg peeling today. So we want about 500 grams. And I can't remember what 500 grams looks like. So I am actually going to weigh it. So, and obviously we're going to peel these. So we're going to be putting more than 500 grams. There's 700 grams there. There's 3 potatoes. And got my little food bin at the ready. And I'm just going to peel these as quickly as I can. I've got this really fancy peeler. It's got a peeler on one side, but it's got a julienne cutter on the other. Don't know if you can see that. So what I tend to do now is when I do carrots, I tend to julienne them. Julienne is really, it's French for something or another, and it's just really finely cut. Let me just, there you go, that's julienne. So yeah, they're cut like really tiny French fries, I suppose is a good way of describing it. So sorry about this. So the potatoes, they aren't the best potatoes I've ever bought, but they are cheap. I was in the supermarket today actually, and I noticed that they've got, we mentioned this on one of the other streams, they actually do vegetables which they've actually labeled as wonky veg, and depending on what you want to do with it. They didn't have any wonky potatoes, otherwise I would have bought those, but they didn't have anything that I wanted in wonky. But I thought, what a brilliant idea, because there's so much food waste, and farmers throw a lot of food out because they can't sell it because people won't buy it because it's the wrong shape, or it's not orange enough, or it's the wrong color, or whatever. Right, so what I'm going to do, because these potatoes are going to be mashed, they don't need to be cut uniform. They don't need to be cut really, really nice. So I'm just going to cut them nice and small, chuck them in the pan, and I'm going to boil them. So first thing we've got a knife. Knives are extremely dangerous, and there's essentially there's 2 or 3 parts to the knife. You've got the pointy end, which I tend to use to get into something, and then you can cut from there. You've got the heel. This is where all the strength is. So if you really need to cut something, and then obviously you've got the main cutting edge. Now, do not repeat what I'm about to do. This is for demonstration purposes only. The way a knife works is it actually works by the motion. A knife is actually pretty useless if you cut like that. It's really not good. And let me show you. So what I'm going to do not repeat this. This is only for demonstration purposes. Right, I'm pushing hard on that knife, and as you can see lines on my hand. It's got no cutting power. So the trick is to you move it that way. That's how a knife cuts. So that's what we're always doing when we're cutting, and I'll show you how to cut as well in a minute. So basically, when you're cutting, keep your hands, your fingers, use them as a guide. See how I've got my hand is flat, and they're ever so slightly pointing away to me. So the knife, sorry, we're doing it there. So we're using that as a guide, and then we're cutting. So can you see there? There's no way, if I keep my fingers like that, there's no way I'm going to cut my fingers. And then my thumb is tucked behind, and that's actually pushing the product through. So when we're doing this, can you see there's no way I'm going to cut my fingers off? And then when we cut things like potatoes, there's a rule, and it's called slice, chip, dice. And that's how we cut a potato. So the first thing we do is we cut a slice, and then we stop, we turn that over. We've now got a nice flat surface, right? So then we will slice, slice, slice. And just discard that for a moment. Now we turn the whole thing over, and now we're on to the chip process. So we cut and we cut, and you see how we've got chips or crisps. I don't know what you call them in fries in America, but we call them chips in America, in Britain. And then lastly, we bunch them all together, and then we dice. So there we have some nicely diced potatoes. Now, I've done these very, very small because when we are making mash, these are going to cook quicker. Obviously, if you are doing them as boiled potatoes, you'd perhaps do them a lot bigger and they'd look nicer on the plate. But we just want to just boil them up. So cut a slice off, and now we've got our flat surface. So we slice and we slice. Take another slice off. Now we chip, and then we dice. And as you can see, my little trick of holding the knife properly has gone out the window because I don't do this every day, so I forget. So slice, slice, chip, and then we dice. So that's the third potato done, no effort at all. And then all these little cuttings that we've got earlier on, we just get those together, and we just repeat the process. We chip them because they've already been sliced, and then we dice. Couple more. Now this should have a prep time of about 20 minutes according to the recipe. The actual time will obviously be based on you. If you're a slow cutter, slow preparer. I'm just popping some water in here, by the way, sorry. Now, potatoes are a root vegetable. So when we put them in water, we put them in cold water. The rule being that when we boil something, I'm just going to pop a little bit of salt in there as well. Not too much, just enough just to enhance the flavour. I try to reduce the amount of salt I use. So when you are cooking, boiling anything that grows below the ground, you always put it into cold water. So carrots, potatoes, swede, parsnip, etc. You put that into cold water and you bring it up to the boil with the vegetables in the water. Anything that grows above the ground, you preheat the water and then you drop them into cold water. So peas, sweet corn, anything like that, you pop them into boiling water. So potatoes are on, and we need a large frying pan, or in my case a wok, and we will be adding a tablespoon of oil, and then we'll need to saute the onions, the carrots, the celery and the garlic. So let's prepare the onion and the garlic. Now onions are well known for making people cry. I'll show you how to cut an onion without it crying. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim the root, but I'm not going to cut the root off. Can you see there? It's very hard with the light that I've got, but I've not cut the root off. And then I'm going to cut the onion in half through the root, but not cutting the root off. And then that will make it easier to peel. We just look at all the bits that we don't want. I might actually just cut the end off, and we can peel this. Now, again, I'm not really up to date on all the sciences, but it's believed that all the enzymes and juices and things that make you cry are actually released by the root, and it's the cutting of the root off that makes you cry. So by not cutting that root off, it then means it won't release all those whatevers, and I will call them enzymes, but you know what I mean. So we have 2 onions with the root still on, and I'm going to cut my onion very small. I like my onion small. I believe my onion should be tasted but not really seen. That's my own personal opinion. If you like big large chunks of onion, then you put big large chunks of onion in. So the way we're going to cut an onion to dice it is we're actually going to cut it. You know how an onion has these lines? We're going to cut along those lines. We're always going to cut towards the middle. The closer together you make those lines, the smaller your dice is going to be. So we end first, cut into, aiming for the middle. So you see I'm coming round. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make a couple of incisions going almost all the way through, like so. And then holding our onion, as I showed you earlier, the proper way, we're just going to cut that like so. Can you see I've got some nicely diced onion, ever so easy. And then we just finish that off. We're cutting around the root, but not into the root. And there's our root, which I'm going to throw away. You can, I believe you can eat it, but I don't particularly like it. So we'll do that again because we're going to use the whole onion. So we're cutting into the onion, aiming towards the middle. So as we cut, we're bringing the angle of our knife around, like so. And then we're going to make 2 incisions, or 3 or 4 or 1, you see how I'm coming all the way, almost all the way through the onion? And I do apologize if you've made comments. I've not been able to catch up on them. But there we go. And that is probably the easiest diced onion you will ever do. And I can get so much of the onion out of there. I can go as close to the root as I dare. There's the leftover root. And I am left with lovely diced onion. So then we want 2 carrots, which I haven't peeled. Now I always peel them before I top and tail them. The reason for that is that I can just go one big stroke. If I don't get all the way to the top or the bottom, I'll just cut the unpeeled bit off. So you see there, look, I don't need to peel the bit I'm going to throw away. So it's just easier just to, and like you see there's a little bit of an incision, so I'll just go over it again. I'm doing this for speed, but if you want to get every single bit of carrot off, you know, you might want to go over this with, so I just dropped a bit on the floor. I've seen people rub them with those, you know, those scratchy cloths that you wash up with. People do that. Sometimes people don't even peel them. That's fine. And we are going to dice the carrot. Now this this carrot is far too big for me to use the same method I did on the potatoes. So I'm just going to cut it down into more manageable pieces. And we're going to cut it exactly the same way we did with the potato. So we are going to slice it. Then we're going to chip it. Chip. And dice. Simple as that. And I think I'm going to need a bigger chopping board. And go as big as you want to go, but I want to go roughly the same size as the onion, a little bit bigger. That's fine. And just however you cut these, try and keep them the same size throughout, so that, you know, you want whatever size the carrot, you want one bite with a bit of carrot in, you want the next bite to have the same size carrot. Also they'll cook evenly. So I'm finding that it's 2 to 3 cuts for the down the bottom of the carrot, 3 to 4 cuts for the top. So, and I'm struggling with this one. These carrots are so hard. Such is the nature of a carrot. And I'm not holding this well, so I am at risk of cutting my thumb off. So be very careful. At the end of the day, I am playing with a dangerous tool, i.e. the knife. If it's capable of cutting through this carrot, it's certainly capable of cutting through skin and muscle. So be very careful, guys. And let's do the little edge bit that I should have done in the first place. This is the awkward bit with cooking, really, is all the food prep. But, you know, some people might be saying, well, actually, I like the food prep more than I like the cooking. Not the biggest fan of food prep, but if you don't prep the food, you can't cook it, can you? So one more carrot to go, and you see it's quite a lot of carrot in here. I think I've probably put way too much. The recipe does ask for 2 carrots, and I think I put 2 very large carrots. But this is one of the great things about cottage pie, is you can fiddle about with the ingredients as much as you want. I've probably got too much onion, too much carrots, but I like carrot and onion, so why can't I put more in? I don't like celery, so I haven't put the celery in. So, you know, do whatever you want with it. Now, garlic. Garlic is the easiest thing to peel. To peel a garlic, place it on the table, get a nice big knife, give it a bit of a bang, and that skin comes off just like that. It usually comes off easier than that. And then there's the bottom. Sometimes I'll top and tail it first. Sometimes I won't. Sometimes I don't remember. So top and tail, knife. Now, if a recipe asks for crushed garlic, the easiest way to crush garlic is the same way that you did peeling it, but harder. And there we go. That, my friends, is crushed garlic. If you want to chop it, I never chop garlic. I actually put it through a garlic crusher, but that's fine. Right, so we need to saute the onions, carrots, celery, and garlic on a medium heat until softened. So let's get the heat on the frying pan. So we want a medium heat, and we want olive oil, something that you can fry with. And let me just remind myself, tablespoon. So teaspoon, tablespoon, which one is which? Well, this is a teaspoon because you make a cup of tea with it. So that must be a tablespoon. Table's bigger than a tea. So tablespoon, teaspoon. And I will be using those later on anyway. So 1 tablespoon. And we're just going to pop the oil in the wok. Now, there's frying, there's sauteing, and at some point in the future, you will hear me use the word sweating. Let me tell you the difference. So we have been asked to saute. Now, what we're going to do when we saute is that we are going to cook, and that is way too hot. So a medium heat is, it's not how high you make it on the ring, it's how it is on the pan. So you want a medium heat is that the flames are almost covering the whole bottom of the pan. So let's pop all of this in here. Now, obviously, if I left this in the pan, it's going to burn and it's going to go brown. And obviously, if we keep this moving, it will stop it from browning. To saute it, all we do is we keep it moving. Just keep moving, keep moving. First of all, we're just coating everything in oil. There's not a lot of oil, but it will go through nicely. And as you see, I am a messy cook. That's the way I am, I'm afraid. And so sauteing is just a little bit like stir fry. So we're just going to keep that moving. Now, if we wanted to sweat this, which is my preferred method, all we need to do is put a lid on it. Now, I don't have a lid for the wok, so I have to go for the next best thing, which is my large frying pan. And what that will do, that will stop it from burning. It will just sit there, and because as it sweats, as it gives off steam, the steam will hit the top of the lid. The water will collect, and it will come back in, or the moisture, not the water, and then that will go back in the juices into the product that you're frying, and it will just keep going, and it won't burn. It will be a lot more difficult to burn. So now it's saying, meanwhile, peel, halve, and boil the potatoes for 20 minutes or until soft, drain and allow to steam for 10 minutes. And then preheat the oven, which I've already preheated the oven. I was going to make one of these this morning, so that, can you see how that's just, it's not really soft yet, but it's it's not burning, even though I've got that on quite a high heat. And there's quite a lot here, actually. I think we've done way too much. But it just means I'm going to enjoy this more often. So that lovely garlic aroma is coming off, actually almost stinging me like my eyes. But so while that's just going, let me just catch up on the comments, because I've got nothing I can do now till they're sauteed. So Danielle says, don't be nervous, we're all coming round to eat after it's done. Danielle, again, she's done. Is that smiley faces? I can't actually see, my screen's quite small. And then Mike Tedstone says, Penny, are we having chips? I wouldn't serve this with chips, but yeah, you can have chips with it if you want. And then he says, hello. So, guys, let's talk about something while we're waiting for these to saute. Golden rule in my kitchen, always got to have a cuppa on the go. When I actually worked, when I went to catering college, one of the conditions that I got the college place was that I had a catering related job, and I was very lucky. I got a job as a pot washer in a little carvery, and the chef, he was really, really nice. He was one of these guys that, so long as you didn't take the mickey and you were willing to learn, he was more than happy to teach. And he taught me quite a lot, actually. But the very first thing that he taught me was, you always get into work before the head chef, and you always have a cup of tea waiting for him when he walks in the door. And then that way he shouldn't be in such a bad mood. He might still be in a bad mood, but they're still very, very hard. Bit of onion I don't like there. So there's going to be a bit of a watery mixture, so that the carrots don't need to be fully cooked. By the time we put all the tomatoes and everything in. Right, so we have put in some garlic. Now, I have bought a book. Let me change my camera. And I want to share some of this book with you, because it is absolutely amazing. I discovered this book about a year ago, and it's called The Flavor Thesaurus. And it's written by Nikki Segnit. Let me write that down, because it is actually the flavor. I've got to spell thesaurus now. Thesaurus by Nikki Segnit. Now, if you're lucky, you can get this book secondhand, really, really cheap. But even at full price, it's really good value for money. And what it does, it lists various ingredients, tells you a little bit about them, and then it tells you what goes with it. So if anybody wants to just chuck a random main ingredient at me, I'll give you a couple of suggestions from the book. So I'm just giving this a bit of a stir. Now this is starting to soften a bit. I'm going to be stirring it more regularly, but I will be keeping the lid on quite a bit. So remember, the recipe has told me to saute, which is to keep it moving as you're frying it. I'm actually sweating it, so I'm going a little bit against the recipe. That's because I don't want to be standing over the stove. I want to be enjoying myself while I'm cooking, getting on with other stuff. I've just cleaned a little bit of my mess up. Meanwhile, knowing that my onions and carrots are quite safe. So let's talk about, first of all, garlic. I don't know if garlic is in the book or if I had to write it down. Garlic. Right, so garlic, one of my favorite ingredients. And it says, adding a small amount of garlic to meat, seafood, green vegetables, and even truffles is like drawing a key line around their flavor. Everything gains a sharper definition. Garlic also adds something of a succulent quality. For mild garlic flavor, infuse warm cooking oil and whole unchopped clove. For something more potent, use it raw and crushed to a paste. So we're going a little bit more potent today. So let's have some examples of things that go together. We've got garlic and basil goes well together. Garlic goes very well with chicken. Doesn't say anything about beef. Let's see if we've got garlic and tomato. Garlic and tomato, see tomato, and garlic paste 259. So obviously garlic, we've got tomato in this. Tomato and garlic. So the only way to start the day in Catalonia. Not a bad way to finish it either. Served with most meals, it's a simple dish of bread toasted or a day old, so it's hard enough not to tear when you rub on the garlic. Then the tomato, pieces of whose whole flesh, along with the juice and the seeds, get caught in the air pockets and enrich the flavour. To finish, it's drizzled with olive oil and sprinkled with salt. It's usually eaten on its own, though sometimes accompanied by anchovies. There's lots of foreign writing here which I can't read. Leopold Pons tells of a famous musician who likes to take alternate bites of tomato bread and chocolate. See also chocolate and tomato. So I absolutely love this book. It's got all kind of suggestions and things, and sometimes it's just nice. You know, you'll sit there and you'll go, oh, I've got chicken. What can I do with the chicken? And it gives you some ideas of what to do with the chicken. So I think these are nearly done. The carrots are softer, but not totally soft. But they're not hard, and the onion's not there yet. So we'll just keep sweating that. Of course, also if you're sweating, you can turn the heat up just a little bit because it's reducing the chances of burning. But can you see how by putting the lid on, it just stops it from going brown? You don't want to brown the onions. So how are you finding it so far? Is there anything you want to suggest? Is there anything you like or don't like about the show? How's the camera angles? So those potatoes are not far off ready, actually. Because I've cut them so small, they're going to cook so much quicker. Obviously, these aren't presentation, meaning I couldn't put these on a plate. You know, I think they're about a couple of minutes away. So that's when a lot of hard work begins. I've also got my dish ready because we're going to present it nicely in a dish. So this is a brand new dish I bought today from my local big supermarket. Right, so let's see if there's any more prep work to do. So we're boiling the potatoes, and we are going to get ready to, my glasses have gone funny now. So next we're going to need a tomato puree, tomatoes, stock cube, bay leaf, salt and pepper, and we're going to add that to, oh, we need to do the mince as well, don't we? Right, it's all softened. Right, so now I made a slight boo-boo. I say I made a slight boo-boo. I didn't. I bought, because it worked out cheaper per pound, I bought 750 grams instead of 500 grams of mince. So what I'm going to be doing is, just to make the budget a little bit better, I'm going to be cutting that in half, and I'm going to be keeping half for another dish. So that's roughly half. So half of 750 grams is not 500 grams. It's about 100 grams short, and that's really not a problem. So this is going to be a little bit less meat. It's just going to make it a little bit cheaper per portion. Still going to have meat in. Now, what you can do, a very old trick that my granny taught me, is you could make that cheaper still by, I'm trying to find something as I'm talking so that I can just pull it out and go, by adding this. Unfortunately, I can't find it because I've not got used to how I put everything out in my kitchen, and I've obviously got it out ready and can't remember. Here we go. So, pearl barley. If you were to cut that meat in half and replace half of that meat with pearl barley, hardly anyone will know the difference, and it's so much cheaper. It really depends on how much meat you want to use. So we have got, Danielle says everything is looking great. Brilliant. I'm a little bit more relaxed now because I've started. Chris Campbell says hi Penny and everyone again. Yeah, hello again. Let me just give my onion and carrot mix a bit of a stir. Now the carrots are going a little bit lighter now, so I know they're starting to cook. And oh, it's smelling. I wish I could share this smell with you guys. So right, I think that's about ready. So let me just switch my camera view to the cooking view. Whoops, that's front camera. I haven't got used to my cameras yet either. Right, so as you can see, that's the mix. It's reduced a little bit because obviously it's going to start collapsing as it's cooking. The carrots they are softer, but they're not soft. That's okay because they'll finish off cooking later. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to be putting it's about 375 grams of mince there. Like I keep saying, the recipe says 500 grams. It really doesn't matter if you put. I suppose you could miss the mince out altogether and call this a vegetarian cottage pie, or put something in as a replacement. But if I'd have had more time and I'd bought them previously, I would actually have put pearl barley in this. I'd have cooked them up beforehand, and I would probably put 250 grams of mince in and 250 grams of prepared pearl barley, and it really will save you quite a bit of money. I have a receipt somewhere. I'm very keen on costings. So when I cook this, what the plan will be is to portion this up into little takeaway containers. Once it's cooled, I'll chuck it in the freezer, and then the night before I want it, I'll take it out, pop it in the fridge, and then on the morning I'll take it to work with me, and that'll be my dinner at work. Literally 3 minutes in the microwave while I'm on my lunch break, which, to be honest with you, is about the time it takes me to grab a cup of coffee, have a little chat to some of the guys I may not have seen for a few days. By the time I've done all that, it's all ready. Sit down, eat it. Wonderful meal, home cooked. You know what's in it, which I think is extremely important these days. You hear these horror stories about fake food. It contains this. You know what's in this. So it's all good stuff. Chris Campbell's making tea just back from work. Well, hopefully we'll give you a little idea of what to cook for another day. So I'm just checking my potatoes. I think they're done. Right, so they're done. So bear with me a sec. Yeah, I can reach the sink, so I'm good there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my colander, and all I'm going to do is, I've got the wrong colander. Now, normally I like to keep my veggie water. In this particular case, I'm not going to. It's just for simplicity. What I like to do is, when it comes to vegetables, I do like to buy frozen vegetables because I think they're a lot better than fresh, because they've not had time to lose their nutrients. And that's especially true with peas. But sometimes I like to buy fresh veg. And what I like to do is I like to cook it up, and then I'll freeze it. Now the water, there's so many nutrients in that water that you just throw away in the sink. So what I'll do is I'll have a bit of a session, and I'll just keep boiling the same vegetables in the same water. and then I'll keep it. I'm just going to take my headphones off for a second. I'm going to show you what I've done with it. Now, again, I wish I could share tastes with you because this is last week I boiled up my veg, and this has got, it's steaming because it's just come out of the freezer. This is carrots, cabbage, all boiled separately. So you boil your cabbage, you drain the water off, and then reuse that water and then boil carrots. And there's something else in there, and I can't remember. And then I've chucked in a vegetable stock cube. That is going to be the basis for an absolutely amazing gravy, I promise you. I did taste it, and I've got to be honest with you. If someone had served that to me and called it vegetable broth, I'd have said, yeah, that's amazing. Bear with me one sec. See, that's another thing. People waste food, and yet they've got a freezer. How can you waste food when you've got a freezer? Sorry, I'm on a real mission now, aren't I? Right, so the potatoes are draining. I'm going to leave them for about 5 minutes. You can leave them for as long as you want, because they're not going to come to any harm sat in the colander. So we've got, sorry, I keep referring back to the recipe. So we need the tomato puree, which I bought a little tube of it. Absolutely no harm in doing using tubes. As you can see, I used it for something else previously. Tin tomatoes. That's now ready to go. Like I said before, you can use whole tomatoes. They're usually a couple of pennies cheaper than chopped tomatoes. All you got to do is just drain the juice off, get a knife or a fork, and just, you can cut them inside the tin. You know, if it's cost effective for you, do it that way. Stock cube bay leaf. Where's my stock cube? Stock cube bay leaf. Salt and pepper to the taste. Then fill the tomato tin with water and add that as well. Bring to the boil and simmer for 15 minutes to reduce. So the water that you're adding will all be disappearing anyway. So, did we say 2 tablespoons of puree? 1 tablespoon. So, can't remember what I've done with a spoon, so we'll get another one out. So, let me switch to cook. Now, I did take that off the heat because I thought, while I'm messing around with ingredients, I don't want it to burn. So, we have got tomato puree, and we don't need to be exact with the ingredients. I'm calling that a teaspoon. That's close enough. Tin of tomatoes, in it goes. And we'll just fill that tin up with water. And I'll rinse all those juices out. So we've got a nice clean can to finish with. So the recycle bin men will be a lot happier. And I can't get the lid on the puree. So these bay leaves look a little bit small to me. So I'm going to add two bay leaves. And like I say, I forgot to buy beef stock cubes. So I'm adding a vegetable one instead. I could add chicken, but chicken and beef, do you think that would work? Let's just go. Vegetable goes with anything, doesn't it? So mix all that in. Bring that to the boil. And don't put the heat up too high. If the flames are actually, if you've got the bottom of the pan, if the pan is that wide and your flames are that wide, you're not actually going to boil it any quicker. All you're doing is you're just wasting your gas or electric. So just a high to a small pan could only be halfway up. So we've effectively got a soup here. Don't know if you can see that, but obviously with all the liquids that we've added, and like you can see, even though I didn't put enough mince in according to the recipe, but that's really hot. Whew. Bear with me one sec. So let's turn that down as well. So, but yeah, so there's about 100 grams short on the mince, but as you can see, there's plenty of mince in there. We don't need as much mince as we eat. I don't think we do. And have you ever made a meal and not put enough meat on, and someone's gone, wow, that was bloody lovely, but could have done with more mince. So, right, let's switch camera. I don't know if I want to switch camera because I have no problems admitting I'm a messy cook. I do clean up afterwards, but as you can see, complete and utter chaos right now. So that can go in the food waste. That can go in the recycle bin. And that can definitely go in the recycle bin. And right, so next job we've got then is potatoes. So these have been draining for a while. Now, how do you do potatoes? To be honest with you, it's totally up to you. I'm a little bit partial to butter and milk or cream. I've got my potato masher here. And what I do is I just roughly mash them. If you've got a better masher than this, brilliant. To be honest with you, if you've cooked them well enough, you should be able to mash with any masher. Really, you shouldn't. A metal masher is always going to be better. So, and again, remember, we've got too much potato in here, according to the recipe. It really doesn't matter. More potato means the dish is cheaper. So it's not cost you as much money. So that's got to be a good thing, isn't it? Right. So once I've roughly mashed them, you see they're pretty much mashed. But I'm actually going to switch to a whisk. And I have got a really good whisk, believe it or not. But I'm going to take my headphones off because I can't reach the fridge. Bear with me a sec. Right, so I'm just checking this. Don't want this. I do have a non-stick wok, but I just got to be careful. It's quite interesting. I was doing a paella the other week, and it was telling me to scoop up all the burnt bits on the bottom, and that all adds flavour. Right, so I've got some butter. The recipe says 50 grams. This is a 250 gram block. I'm not even going to bother weighing. Absolutely no point. This is a 250 gram block. We want 50 grams. 50 grams is 1/5. So get a knife, get a sharp knife. Half, 2/3, 1, 2. That's about 50 grams. Really, you can see it's quite a lot of butter going in there, but honestly, it adds so much. I've got salted butter. You can get unsalted, but I do reduce the amount of salt that I eat. But the way that I do that is normally I don't add salt at the table. I add salt at cooking level. And I find I don't add so much salt. Incidentally, coming from a catering background, some of you may agree, some of you may not. One thing I do have a problem with is people who add salt and pepper at the table before they've tasted the meal. It's a real serious insult, actually. If you take a bite of your food and then add salt, that's fine. You're saying, yes, okay, I could just do with a little bit more seasoning to my taste. But if you add it before you've even tasted it, how do you know the chef didn't accidentally drop half a bucket of salt in there? Right. So this is now going a little bit of a nice yellowy color thanks to the butter. And what I also like to do, and a lot of people don't like this, just a tiny splash of milk. Not much, probably about as much as you would put into a cup of tea. And that just loosens the whole lot up a little bit. And because we're using a whisk, we're going to be adding a bit of air, and that's going to be light and fluffy. And that's it. My mash tends to have a few little lumps in. Obviously, if you don't like lumpy mashed potato, take a little bit longer and make sure you get no lumps. So this is where all my mess is piling up. So that's now ready. That's going to go on top of the mince mixture, which will be ready shortly. Let me switch views. So as you can see, there's lots of liquid in there. Obviously, if we mix that up, it adds the mixture back into the mince. And but what we want to do is keep, actually that's a little bit too high. That's boiling. The difference between a boil, I don't know if you can see all the big bubbles coming off there. That's most definitely boiling. But to simmer, you want, it's more movement on the top. So I'm going to do a bit of a dizzy cam here. So can you see there that it's more like, more, you know, those hot muds you can get, like where you get the geysers coming out and you see the top is just moving. That's more of a simmer. If I turn that right up, can you see how it's a lot more aggressive? And that's, can you see like those holes there? They're really aggressive. That's a boil. So we'll just turn that down to a simmer, and it just cooks a little bit more gently and a little bit more carefully. Oops, sorry, I've just done the camera the wrong way. There we go. So, so Geordie Dave, I've just seen your comments. Sorry. Evening, everyone. How you all doing? So now, unfortunately, I don't have the big budgets to do the old. Here's one I prepared earlier. So you're not actually going to be able to see it. I can't believe it's taken me an hour to make this because I'm explaining everything, you see. So that's actually not far off done. You can see there's a lot less liquid in there. And once that gets a little bit thick, you want it so that when you spoon it, it's not going to run all over the place. Now, one of the problems I have with a cottage pie is, what do you serve with it that's not already in the cottage pie? You can't serve potatoes with it because it's got potatoes already. So maybe you could serve roast or something with it. It's got carrots in it. Oh, sorry, bear with me. I've forgotten one ingredient. Oh, no. Peas are added at the last minute. And I thought I forgot the peas. So, although saying that, I can get the peas out now. Bear with me a sec, guys. So I piled so many vegetables into my freezer, it was actually quite hard to find the peas, which I think is funny. But at least you know I'm eating vegetables, don't you? So right, what do we say? 100 grams of peas. So I'll just pop those in the bowl ready. Now, I always buy frozen peas because they're just so much better. I like the little small ones. Bring it over there. I like the small ones. I just think they got a little bit of a sweeter flavour. And the reason I always buy fresh, frozen, sorry, is you generally find that they are picked and frozen within about half an hour if they're slow, maybe quicker. Whereas if you buy them fresh from the supermarket, then generally they might be a couple of days old before they've even hit the supermarket shelves. And all that vitamin C and loads of other nutrients, they just, as soon as you pick them, they're starting to lose nutrients. So you basically, I don't know, a fresh pea is like hitting a blank. It's like firing a blank, I suppose. The only way you can beat a frozen pea is if you actually grow your own peas and pick them and cook them on your allotment and add them to your dinner. That's the only way I can think of beating a frozen pea. So that'd be handy for you, won't it, Geordie? Because I know you got your allotment. How is the allotment going? If you're interested in allotment videos, Geordie and his son actually run an allotment. They do videos. Geordie, if you're still watching, if you want to pop your link to your channel, because obviously that is extremely relevant, isn't it? Which actually, talking of relevancy, I wanted to say another reason why I'm doing this. Obviously, I'm a crafter. I know this comes under the category of making things, but what I find as a crafter, it's very, very easy to lose sight on nutrition, because you do get on with what you're doing. And how many of you sat down, especially you cross stitchers and diamond painters, oh, I'll just sit down and I'll do this for 5 minutes, and then you crack on with it. Next thing you know, 3 or 4 hours have passed. It's gone way past your normal dinner time. So do you sit down and cook? No, of course you don't. You grab something easy out of the cupboard, packet of crisps, a can of pop, and maybe some cakes. And then it's just so easy to sort of miss out on your dinner. So, right, guys, I've got a bit of a problem. This just took a little bit longer than I thought it was going to take. But I did sort of say it'll take an hour to 2 hours. And I've got this little problem now. I've got nothing to do, not much to talk about. Oh, there you go. That was good timing, wasn't it? Geordie Dave says, thanks, Penny. Allotment is going well. Peas are going in this evening. Couldn't have timed that any better, could we? So, yeah. So, yeah, obviously this is a new venture for me. So I know Mike Tedstone will be sitting there going, what? Penny's got nothing to talk about. Right. So this is almost done. So this is a really good time to taste, because if we don't taste it now, we can add salt and pepper or anything else that we need, and it's still got time to infuse. So let me show you how I taste. When you're sitting at home cooking on your own, it really doesn't make any difference. But when you are sharing that food, you don't. If you taste with a spoon, and then you put the spoon back in, everyone knows about double dipping, don't they? So apart from being unhygienic, your mouth contains enzymes that breaks down food. At the moment, we're actually simmering this to make it thicker. We certainly don't want to be putting enzymes in there that's going to make it thinner. So what we'll do is we'll take out with a little bit of teaspoon, and we'll take a big spoon and we drop it onto the teaspoon. And then we taste with that big teaspoon. Ever so simple. It's what you get taught at catering college. And apart from being extremely hot, that's actually quite nice. I'm quite impressed with that. So I'm just testing the carrot. Oh, that's really... Oh, you know when you eat something that's too hot and you haven't let it cool down? And then it kind of burns all the way down your windpipe or down your, is it esophagus? That's exactly what that's doing right now. I didn't cool it down enough. So I just want to get one of these big bits of carrot out. It's the carrot that I'm mostly concerned about, because I don't want hard lumps of carrot in my dinner. That's really nice. The carrot's not quite cooked. but that's not a problem because it's still got to go in the oven. And obviously we haven't finished cooking it on the top yet. So Love Minis is asking me, do I have to use a wok? No, you do not have to use a wok. It's the actual recipe says, so I meant to say actually the recipe is available on the Tesco website. It's called Classic Cottage Pie Recipe, and it comes from realfood.tesco.com. Now the recipe says to use a large frying pan. The reason I'm using a wok is I just really like using a wok. I like the way that you can see how I can stir it easier. The only disadvantage with using a wok is it's not actually cooking around there. It's only cooking on the bottom. The sides of a wok is designed to keep the food hot. So a really best example of that is if you're doing fried rice and then you want to add an egg, what you'll do is you'll push the rice all the way up the sides like this. Obviously this isn't keeping because it's liquid, but you'll push the rice up the side to make a hole in the middle. You'll put the egg in the middle and you're constantly mixing the egg, but the rice isn't burning because it's cooler on the sides. But I use a wok because I really like using a wok, and it's as a frying pan, it's the biggest one I've got. So I reckon that's about 5 or 10 minutes away. So we just make sure it's not too high, which that isn't. I've actually got this on the largest ring I've got on the lower setting. I've got 3 smaller rings and one big ring. I tend to use that big ring a lot. When I cook my fried breakfast, it works really well on that ring. But that's a really good simmer. And a word of warning, if you're in a small kitchen like this, it gets really hot. Get that window open and try and get that window open before it starts to get too hot. So, yeah. So, sorry, guys. But Adrian has just posted the link for Geordie. Did you post a link for Geordie Dave's channel, or did you post it for the allotment channel? So obviously we're talking. I mean, obviously no harm in advertising Geordie Dave or anyone else. But yeah, I can remember when Geordie Dave started to do. What is going on there? That's interesting. So I put a thumbnail for this show. Oh, it had. I see. So I just looked on YouTube and it's come up with a funny thumbnail. So bear with me for a sec. Right. That's my channel. If you go to my channel, right. Sorry, I just noticed that was lucky. Sorry, Geordie. I don't know why that last comment, it held it for review. But because didn't see it because I wasn't on YouTube. Right, so that link that Adrian has shown, that is for Geordie Dave, but you can, from his channel, you can then follow links to his allotment channel. And like I was about to say, I can remember when he first did that allotment, and that was... What's the best way to describe your allotment when you first started it? Junkyard, tip, bomb site? I know a lot of hard graft has gone into that. And you've done really, really well. I know it's probably a bit easier with 2 of you, but it's still hard work, isn't it? So that is not far off. I mean, you could put that into the pan now. A lot of the juices have gone. We just bring that up a bit closer. There's not too much liquid left. You could put that in the pan now if you wanted. It would be a little bit sloppy. So I'm just going to cook that off for probably about another 5 minutes. And that, I'm really, really looking forward to that. So again, when I tasted it, I felt it was seasoned well enough. Probably because of the stock cube, actually, you tend to find there. Oh, there you go. So Geordie's description, jungle and a tip. I don't think they're far off. Yeah, good descriptions there. So yeah, he has worked really hard on that. So Adrian's also posted the link for the DRD allotment. So that will take you straight to the allotment channel. Really is worth giving it a go. So maybe Geordie Dave could, we could combine that. We could do a dual stream. You could bring up some vegetables for me, and then I'll cook them on the stream, and we can do a dual stream. How's that sound? Is that a good offer? So, right, I think this is nearly ready. So I'm going to pop the peas in. Again, you don't have to weigh these exact. I have actually put exactly as per the recipe there. But if you like peas, you could put a few more peas in. But these are all ingredients that are going well together. Carrots and beef, they go well together. Peas go with just about anything. Beef and tomato. You've got different consistencies. You've got the mince. You've got the carrot. You've got the peas. They're all going to feel different. Every mouthful that you have is going to feel a little bit different and taste a little bit different. And I think that is just about ready. So at this point, I'm going to... Now the mash, I think the mash is a little bit plain. So I am going to salt and pepper, and it is strictly to taste. There's, you know, if you follow a recipe and it says add 2 grams of salt, 3 grams of pepper, and you go, well, I don't think it's salty enough and I think it's way too peppery, then put less pepper. And you know, I've been grinding the pepper, and I wonder why I couldn't see any pepper in the potatoes. Turned out I still had the lid on the pepper grinder. So I don't skimp on pot salt and pepper. I've got these posh grinders, and I've got sea salt, and I believe sea salt's a bit better for you. But because I don't have much salt, that's my own preference, I use better salt. And I think if you cut back on something, you can then just go a little bit more in another direction. So I don't know if you saw me putting salt in at the start, but that's the salt I use for cooking. It's just a cheap salt. And once this is my first salt in this house. One day, probably in the year 2027, when this finally empties, I'll buy the little cheap Morrison salts, and I'll just fill this up. And I just use a cheap salt for cooking. I think that is done, actually. So I need to remove the bay leaf. So there's one. You've got to remember you put 2 in. Obviously, the recipe said 1. And now we have to play. Here we are. I thought we were going to play a game of Hunt the Bay Leaf. So there's our bay leaves out. There's our cottage pie mix. Now, my friend, some of you watched the early stream would have accidentally seen him. But he was round, and I said to him, I said, got cottage pie for tea if you want some. He says, I don't like it. I said, okay, fair enough. I said, what don't you like about it? Because I thought maybe I could make a different version for him. He says, I don't like mince. I said, really? I said, you like mince that I do before? Because I don't like lamb. I said, it's not got lamb in it. I said, it's got beef in it. He says, but the mince is lamb. I said, no. I said, that's shepherd's pie. Shepherd's pie is pretty much the same as this, but it's got lamb mince in it. Cottage pie has beef mince. And the way to remember that, obviously, what do shepherds look after? They look after sheep, don't they? So it's going to have sheep in. So what we're going to do is we're going to just pour that into our dish. And I think this is actually going to be a really nice amount. I wasn't sure if I was going to make too much or not enough. but it looks like it's going to be absolutely perfect. It's probably too much filling, actually. There's about an inch in a roughly 2-inch dish. If I was cooking maybe with kids and maybe my budget wasn't so good, I'd be looking at about 1/3 filling, 2/3 potatoes. So it's a little bit, could have done with another 5 minutes perhaps, but all we're doing is we're just going to pack that in there like that. And then now you're going to find out why I like my potatoes a little bit runnier. So I'm just going to leave that for a couple of minutes. The cooler it is, the stiffer it is. When it's hot, it's going to go a lot more liquidy. And as soon as we chuck the potatoes on there, it's just going to push it all down the weight. Once it's cooled down for about 5 minutes, it's just going to hold the weight of the potatoes better. So, right. So, potatoes. Let me take the wok out. Pop that in the sink. Like I say, I am a messy cook, but I do clean up afterwards. So I have got somewhere, here we go. I use this for applying the potato, popping the potato in. And then all we need to do, I think there might not be enough potato actually. Maybe I would have done less filling and more potato. But so just pop a little bit of potato into the corner. Then into the edges. Don't worry about going over the sides. I used to have a rule in my house when I'm cooking for other people. Last one to finish does the washing up. And I don't believe that the chef, you know, there's not enough potato here. This is what happens when you do a dish for the first time. So, yeah, right. Okay, guys, I do apologize. This is what happens when you follow a recipe. So, what I would actually have done, now that I know the quantities and the dish that I'm using, I probably would have reduced the amount of filling by about 1/3, and I would have doubled the amount of potato. I do apologize. I feel like I've let you down, but this is kind of a blind cooking. So what we'll do is we'll just bring some more over. Obviously, I don't want to cook potatoes on stream. So we'll just pretend this side doesn't exist for now. So what we would have done is we would have put our potatoes up to about the level. And then we've got two choices. We want to peak them. So we can either run a fork all along, and we want an uneven surface. But what I used to do, what my mum taught me, we used to run a fork along there like that, and then we would run the fork the other way around. And then what you'll do, can you see that? It's just made the surface nice and uneven. And then as we cook that, these little top peaks will just start to brown a little bit more than the lower bit. Right, so that's my cottage pie, which unfortunately, I've actually done too much potatoes as well. Can you believe that? So let me check the recipe because I don't know. Yeah, do you know what? I don't know what happened there. I did 500 grams of potato and the recipe did say 1 kilo. So that's actually my fault for not reading the recipe properly. So you could eat that now because obviously all of that is cooked and the potatoes are cooked, but you do want to pop it in the oven. I'm going to have to do more potatoes. I'm sorry, guys. It is actually my fault, not the recipe's fault. Can you believe that? I feel awful. So, yeah, I'm going to have to get peeling and get cooking. and I need another 500 grams of potato. But hopefully I've managed to do enough for you to see the principle of it. Now, question is, how many portions will you get out of that? I would say, now this recipe says serves 4. I transfer into these. There's 2 there. I always transfer into these, and when it goes cold, it goes into the freezer or the fridge. So I think I'm looking at 4 to 5 portions there, which means I can't find my receipt from this morning, but at a rough cost, that's about £2 a portion. £2, about £8 to make the whole lot. For me, that would last 4 or 5 days. I've done a good meal there, haven't I? You know, from a terms of eating. So I just feel a bit disappointed I didn't read the ingredients properly. I am so sorry, guys. So at least we've had. Sorry, I've just read this comment. You're fine. I am sure I would have had to stop once I cut my finger. Not if you follow the cutting like that. I don't know if you caught right at the beginning. Sorry, I'm going to do some peeling as I talk, because obviously I need to finish this off for myself. I'm obviously not going to finish it off on stream because I don't think you need to watch for another hour, half an hour, just to see what you can already see. But yeah, that is basically cottage pie. It's a real staple in, well, I think a lot of homes, isn't it? It's cheap and easy to make. It's rather wholesome. It's definitely filling with the potato. So my question is, I know there's a couple of you didn't know what cottage pie was before this stream. I know people like Geordie and that, they would have had cottage pie 100 times because they're from the north. So they tend to eat these big wholesome meals a lot more than southerners. But for those of you that didn't know what cottage pie was before this stream, is this something that's tempted you? Is it something that you would perhaps give it a go? Even if you look for the recipe and then found something perhaps a little bit more to your taste, is that something that you would perhaps have a go at? So Love Minnie says never had it, and then she says yes. So I'm glad if I get one person cooking, that would be great. So the question I've got now, so Danielle says, okay, Penny, looks great. See you next time. I have to run now, no problems. Next week, what would you like me to do? Obviously, I'm only going to do stuff that I would eat. So you already know that I don't like celery, and I don't tend to like offal, anything from the inside of the animal as opposed to the meat. We call it shepherd's pie. Yeah, we call it shepherd's pie if it's got lamb in it, lamb mince, and lamb mince tends to be a bit more greasy. But obviously, if you're a shepherd, you're going to get hold of lamb mince a lot easier than you can beef. So do you want me to do another dish next week, or would you like me to do perhaps a dessert? One idea that I've got is chicken chow mein. Yeah, no, I've actually never made a chicken chow mein. One thing I'd like to cook next week, because I'm getting a little bit low on, is a paella. I made paella for myself last week, and I've always liked paella, but I've never made it. And I was actually so surprised at how, it was, I don't like to big up my cooking, but it was absolutely amazing. And I said to Julie about it before we did our stream. There's no salt or pepper gone in it at all. And yet it was so well seasoned. So would you, for example, like me to do paella next week? Because that would do me favors, and that's something that I could do well on stream. And I won't get the proportions wrong. So I would be too scared to make apple pie, love minis, especially with an American audience, because Americans know their apple pies, don't they? And I just think that I would get an absolute ton of hate mail. That's not how we do an apple pie over here. And I can just see it now. And America would go to war with Great Britain because Penny's done a really bad apple pie. But yeah, if you want to give me any ideas of stuff to make over the course of the series, I'd like to vary main courses and desserts. Risotto. Yeah. Funnily enough, when I was in the supermarket today, I picked up, I like to bulk buy. And last week I bought, I think it was a 5 kilogram bag of pasta. It's something that I will use before it goes off. And I wanted to bulk buy some rice as well. But there's no way I could bring rice and pasta home last week. So this week I bought a 10 kilogram bag of rice, and I picked up some paella rice. I'm not out of paella rice, but I bought these lovely containers last week, and they just fit really well on my shelves. And I've got this little one, so I put the paella rice in it, and I thought, oh yeah, that'll do. But while I was there, I saw they had risotto rice, and I thought, oh, should I pick up some risotto rice just to give myself a bit of a range? And I thought, no, that'll be fine. So it's funny that you bring up risotto. So yeah, I could think about doing a risotto. So how about, I'm really keen actually on doing the paella next week. So would you be comfortable me doing a paella? It's one of those things, when I went to cost it all up, I do like to work out how much a meal costs me. I want to know exactly what I'm paying for. Because let's face it, if you're going to do yourself a home cooked meal, and it's going to cost you twice as much as it costs you to go to Nando's, well, I think you might as well go to Nando's. And I did say at the beginning of the stream, oh God, you've really pushed me there. How many types of rice are there? I bet how many I could research and find out. I bet there's more. But I know Morrison's do, if you're counting all the things that they call rice, like short grain, long grain, there's Morrison's do about 8 different types of rice. And that's what you can buy in a common British supermarket. So I reckon there must be 30 types, 20 types of rice. Let's Google it, shall we? How many types of rice? Wow. Right. So I've just done a very quick Google, and I'm going to have to share this because you will not believe me. Oops. Share screen. Print tab. There you go. That is how many? 40,000 varieties. Can you believe that? 40,000 types of rice. I would. Yeah, we have. This is it. This is the ones I forgot to mention. Actually, you got white and brown. Yeah, it's no, like I say, a common British supermarket has about 8 types. So 40,000. Can you imagine? Can you imagine one supermarket doing 20,000, 1,000 varieties? They'd have no room for anything else, would they? You'd end up going into the Chinese and they'd say, would you like rice with your rice? Right, guys. So listen, I'm going to end this now because I think I've done all I can. I'm really sorry that this wasn't it wasn't a failure. It wasn't a success. I think that's a fair statement to make. Had I done enough potatoes, next time I make this, I will actually make a lot less filling. I think the filling is up to about there. So it's about 2/3 filling. I think that's too much. When you're trying to make a meal to save money, I think you don't need that much filling. If you're a meat and veggie lover, then there's plenty of filling in there. But yeah, I'm happy with the result in that the actual filling is perfect. The potatoes are okay. There's just not enough of them. But yeah, I'm really happy. So let's, well, the inside seems the most commulated. I don't know what you mean by that. Sorry. Right. So let's do a paella the next week, because I know I can do that, and I know I can do that within an hour. And paella's really nice because it's quite literally a one-pot cook. There were some other things that I want to show you. There'll be more sweating. Remember when I said about sweating as opposed to saute? Saute is frying, keeping everything moving, whereas sweating, harder. Yeah, it definitely is. I shouldn't really touch that with my finger, but it's only me eating it anyway. Yeah, because especially with things like gravy, when you let the gravy go cold, it goes hard. When you cook it, it's all to do with the heat. Things harden up. I can't really explain it. I don't understand the science of it, but this is why I said ideally, what I might do is I would make the filling. I would put the filling into the dish. Then I'd do all my washing up. Then I would cook the potatoes, mash them all up, then put them in the filling, then put it in the oven. But obviously I've tried to do everything all at once. I can't understand why 500, where on earth did I get 500 grams of potato from when it clearly said 1 kilogram brackets 2 pounds. So, but yeah, so guys, I'm going to end it there. We'll do a paella next week. We'll do a pudding, something sweet the week after. We've had mention of apple pie. Would you like me to do an apple pie? We could do, one of my favorite things actually is lemon tart. And I did notice the baking beans for sale in the supermarket. So it's something I could add to my cooking arsenal. Or maybe we could talk about it for next week. So with that, thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. Please leave your comments. Once this show is finished, please leave your comments. Leave any suggestions that you've got for something. We'll try and pick up something. Caramel, I'll have to look that up. But by doing paella next week, it gives me 2 weeks to look something up. But do you mean caramel apple as in like what I'd call toffee apples? Because the angle that I want to approach this is making cheap, wholesome, good value meals. So I don't know if I want to do carrot apple. You know what I mean anyway. So guys, thank you for watching. Next week we're going to be doing paella. No one suggested paella except me. Isn't that funny? Give me your suggestions. Right, now I'm going to ignore them all and we're going to do what I want to do. So I didn't mean to do it like that. So guys, yeah, leave comments in the bottom, and then allow me to research things and look at the ingredients and things, and we'll try and do something in it later. Who knows where this is going to go, but I've had fun. Well, you could, yeah, I didn't want to do toffee apples, to be honest with you, but maybe we could do those maybe closer to Halloween, maybe when holidays come up, like when Shrove Tuesday comes up, maybe I could have a nice easy day and we can make pancakes. So yeah, okay, guys. So I'll be back next week. Thank you for watching. Leave comments below. Please leave anything you want, constructive criticism. I'm always listening. This is the first time I filmed in my kitchen. Obviously, I'm not able to use the equipment I use for my normal filming. So all I've really got is a couple of cheap cameras and a Chromebook, which I can't record on, but I can do a live stream. If this is something that is going down well, then obviously this is something I can improve at a later stage. I'm not in a position to improve things, but obviously if it's a problem like the lighting, I did notice, because I'm filming in the daytime, and obviously I don't know if you can see this, but this is my food prep area, and there's my camera that I'm using for the food prep. And as you can see, we've got the light coming through the back. I was thinking about bringing the blinds down, but I bought some plants. This is a growing basil. This is about 4 times the size of what I originally bought. Now, for me to shut these blinds, I've got to clear everything off the windowsill, because I've been using the windowsill to put things on. If I have to do it, I will. But I just thought we'll see how it goes for now. So yeah, right, guys, I don't want to be sitting there talking all night. So again, thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate your support, and I love being back on the live streams. I'll be doing some more pre-recorded videos soon. I did do an update video the other day. I refuse to give dates of when I'll be back. I have a plan, a private plan of when I'm planning to come back. Obviously, I need to get things recorded in advance, and I want to be coming back at certain dates. But obviously, you don't really know what's going to happen between now and then. And if I say to you, yes, I will definitely be back on a certain date, and I'm not back on that date, I see that as a broken promise. So what I'll say is I'll be back soon with pre-recorded videos, and then hopefully soon. So again, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Really important to me is your comments. I'm not after comments for popularity. I really need those comments so I can improve things. When you might think you've got the perfect channel. I know I'm far from the perfect channel. I know I'm far from the, if I had a couple of £1,000, I could go out and get proper lighting and everything. But I want to know what's important to you. Is the sound not great? Is the lighting not good? Is it actually fine the way it is? Perhaps I should buy another set of headphones that are a bit longer, and I haven't got to take them off when I go all the way, because you see my fridge is over there in the corner, and this is as far as I can go. So yeah, maybe I need headphones with a longer lead. I don't know. Right, guys, so thank you for watching, and I will catch you next week. I'll just read that last comment. Lovemoney says, at least you have a job. Yeah. One good thing about my trade, being a bus driver, is I can pretty much get a job anywhere in the country. Not sure if it's still going to happen, but possibly Europe. Yeah, so I mean, I'm trying to settle down, and I really like this area, and I've got my little house now, and I love having my own little house. So hopefully I'll be up here for a long time. But yeah, like I say, I can get a job just about anywhere. Love Money says yes, but we want to learn from you. Yes, I will be passing on what I want and what I know, as much as I can. But at the same time, I do need your feedback. So, you know, if there's anything in particular you want to learn, is there anything in today, for example, that I've tried to show you that you'd like me to go through again? These are all the questions that I need to know what you want to make the stream more enjoyable. Right, so I'm going to call it a day now. It's not too bad, hour and a half. So take care, guys, and if I don't see you before, I will see you next Wednesday. Take care. Bye bye.